In June of 1972, a young girl in anguish ran from her burning village in Vietnam. This image captured her pain and displayed the horrors of war.
Jane Pauley met the girl more than 40 years later to talk about how she became the face of the Vietnam War. Here's a preview of this week's Sunday morning cover story. We want to warn you, though, some of the images that you're about to see are graphic.
You can call me Kim or Kim Phuc. Now I'm 52.
So 43 years ago,
That I got burned.
was the day that defined the rest of your life.
Yeah, that day.
21-year-old Nick Oot, a Vietnamese photographer, was also there that day on assignment for the Associated Press.
I look at my camera, you find I saw the girl naked running.
He took the picture that would win the Pulitzer Prize.
And when she passed with my camera, I saw her body burn so badly. I said, my God, I need to help her.
So they tried to help me. But after they pouring water over my body, it seemed like I passed out. I didn't remember anything else.
He wrapped her in a soldier's rain poncho.
I don't want to see the picture of her naked. I cover her.
Yes.
And she kept screaming and saying, I'm dying all the time.
He took her to the hospital, where the doctors thought she was dying too.
They placed me to the morgue because they give up hope. And they consider I have no way to survive.
They decided this one isn't going to make it.
Exactly.
So you were written off.
Yes.
And Jane Pauley joins us now. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What a captivating story. That is the big question. What happened to Kim?
Well, do you know, if you are old enough for Vietnam to register, and I've had this opportunity in the last month or two to ask people, Vietnam, the little girl in the picture, they all nod. It was a galvanizing picture. It was approximately a year before America left Vietnam. And, you know, it really put a child's face on the horror of war. And, you know, much the same way that picture of the little Syrian boy, the 3-year-old whose body washed up on the beach in Greece, how, you know, that image, you'll remember that the rest of your life. And it really, that picture put a face on the, you know, this refugee migration of, you know, hundreds of thousands and millions of people. And yet a picture of a child, well, that's what this little girl's picture when she was 9 years old, as, you know, we say 43 years ago. And that's 43 years. Every day of those 43 years, she's been in pain, terrible pain. And, well.
I mean, I think as moving as the picture is watching the video of her now, and, you know, it's a far cry from that photo. What has happened in between?
Well, for one thing, the napalm that burned her back, as you see the little girl in the picture, her back and her arms, it didn't touch her feet so she could run, and it didn't touch her beautiful face. And her, I mean, she has the sweetness and an aura about her that you just don't see suffering, but she has suffered. Though the picture, when I say it defined your life, and she nods, on the 10th anniversary of that picture, the new Vietnamese regime really recognized that they had a powerful propaganda tool and discovered her a national treasure. She was in medical school at the time, a 19-year-old, and they would have her do interviews. Bob Simon from CBS did a wonderful story about her when she was, I don't know, 19, 20, 22, I think. And, but because of all the interviews, she wasn't able to go to medical school. She regards that, and did at the time, as the second tragedy of her life, that she felt like a victim all over again, her dream of a life. The picture kept catching up to her.
Well, she was worried that she would never find love,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that she would never get married, and that wasn't the
Yes.
case, right?
Well, you know, even as a 9-year-old, she thought, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, and you know, no one will love me. You know, her story takes so many, you know, fascinating twists and turns. She becomes a Christian. She wasn't proselytized. She discovered the Bible in a library when, you know, between interviews on her own. That gave her peace, and she's got some steel about her. Any opportunity she had, she was able to take it with the patience of waiting for God to open her doors. She meets the Prime Minister, Pham Van Dong, and tells him her story, you know, that she couldn't go to medical school, and he says, why did they do that to you? And he becomes kind of a father figure to her. And arranges for her to resume her education at the University of Havana with other Vietnamese students, where, because she is a beautiful woman, she really is a beautiful woman,
gorgeous.
and not surprisingly, someone falls in love with her. Oh, I want to tell the whole story.
Keep going.
You know, this is just the twists her life has taken. So she's in Havana. Tuan falls for her. He grew up in the north of Vietnam. He's a devout communist. He's as devout a communist as she is devout Christian at that point, because she grew up in South Vietnam. And so they marry in Cuba. They honeymoon in Moscow. Yes. Wow. And on the flight back, after a 2-week honeymoon in Moscow, she breaks the news to him that she's got a different destination in mind. She's going to get off the plane when they refuel in Newfoundland, in Canada.
And
doesn't really know what's going to happen.
So is she going to get off with or without him? Or?
Well, she's going to get off with him, but he doesn't know. And I mean, this is news to him.
Right.
On the plane.
On the plane. And he's in shock. And he says no. And they sit apart for a while, and he comes up with compromise plans. Okay, you get off, and then and if they accept you, then maybe I join you later. Or if you get off and they don't accept you and you go back to Vietnam, you'll be in jail. I'll look after you. She says, no, I'm getting off. That is, I have one goal, Canada. I do not have a second goal.
Gutsy call.
I'm getting off, and you have to go with me, because if you don't, I won't survive. And at that point, his heart melts. The two of them get off the plane. What a sacrifice he makes. And though at this point in his life, he regards that as that it was the right decision for him to make. They've had a family, but still the pain every day, serious pain every day. And our story then moves into what is likely a chapter of her life. Well, what chapter of her life did she ever expect? But this one's certainly not. She dreamed of being in heaven, where she felt in heaven she would have no pain. There are new treatments for burns, and one of them is a laser treatment that's a little counterintuitive. Burns. It burns. You burn tiny hair, the holes the size of a hair in the scars, because it's the scars that cause the pain. And she's got scars that are so thick. And so she's had the first. We followed her to Miami, where she had the procedure done, the first of maybe half a dozen. Painful. Tuan, her husband, is holding her hand, and she's a very brave woman. And there's plenty of pain medication, but it's still, you know, uncomfortable. But it holds the promise of improving the look of her scars, but also relieving her pain. So we could just pray that she gets the relief that she deserves. Though, you know, that I at one point I asked her, because she has become a UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. She started a foundation. And I said, you know, don't you think you've had a greater impact on the world, the little girl in the picture, than if you'd become a doctor? And she said, you know, yes, and that makes me very happy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What a powerful story.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
well,
Jane Pauley, thank you so much for coming and enlightening us with all of that. We really appreciate it. We look forward to your piece on Sunday.
thank you very much.
And you can see Jane's full conversation with Kim Phuc this week on Sunday morning. It's 9 a.m. Eastern on CBS.